Okay.
Well, that's for you, you asked me for the.
Okay, so we're holding in the chapter 11. We're chapter 11, and we were talking about the Rasha. There's only one short parak and then out of 53 prakim that speaks about the Rasha. And the point is not to put anyone, to label anyone and to categorize people, for sure not anyone else. But when we understand, when we define and understand the differences, it helps us. It helps us figure out where we're going, and that's the main thing. It's not where I am, but it's where where I'm headed. Okay, so just like when we spoke about the tzaddik, there's 18,000 levels of tzaddik. The same thing is with Russia. There are many, 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 many levels. There's a huge spectrum. And we said last time that there are 3 non-factors which means that if any of those factors come into play, then you automatically fall into the category of a Rasha. And by the time we're done, we realize that even people that we look up to, that we respect, could fall into this category, because basically, as soon as a person doesn't have complete control of their thought, speech, and action, then and if they're not,
You start recording?
I did, yeah. I could, yeah. If they're not in control of their thought, speech, and action, or if they're not currently serving Hashem, then they're automatically in the Rasha category. So there are 3 non-factors. In fact, non-factor number 1 is, it doesn't matter if the Aveira is something very severe or if it's something very, very minor. So if a man, let's say, misses going to, misses the minyan one day, once a year. So it's something very, very minor, but again, it doesn't matter. That's a non-factor. You can't say, "Oh, it's so minor, so okay, I'm excused." So at that moment, he's in the Russia category. Yeah, you can always be 100%. Yeah, exactly.
So once you're in Russia, doesn't mean you stay in Russia.
What's the touch of the word Russia? Even, no? Like the literal is even.
We translate it wrong. We translate it wrong as a Rasha, as someone who's wicked. But the Rasha of Tanya is not a wicked monster. It could be a very great person, and we're going to see we're going to describe a Rasha, and to you it's going to seem like a tzaddik. Okay, so number 1, it doesn't matter what the Aveira is. It could be the most tiny thing. That's not a factor. The second non-factor is frequency. It doesn't matter if it's once in 10 years, or if it's very, 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 very rare. It doesn't matter. It's again in the category of a Rasha. Just like if someone says, "I only fall asleep at the wheel once in 10 years." I'm not driving with you. It's not safe. So that frequency doesn't matter. And the third thing that doesn't matter is which part of you or how deeply the Yetzer Hara, the animal soul, takes hold of you. Because there are 3 parts of how we express ourselves: thought, speech, and action. So it doesn't matter if the Yetzer Hara only takes control of your thought, only your speech, only your deed. And we could discuss what's worse and what's better. We'll discuss that. But so what we're saying is, if a person thought about something, not something terrible, just a little bit inappropriate, once in 10 years, and it only touched his thought, you're still in the category of a Russia. But that's the height, like that would be like the highest level of a Russia. And you have a whole spectrum. So someone who sins with more severe sins, more frequently, and not just that it touches one part of his behavior, but touches more, it infects not just one part of him, but more than one part or all three parts of him, then the more, so I'm saying, the more severe and the more frequent and the more deeply it penetrates, the more of a Russia you are. So those are the three things.
That really keeps you humble, though, knowing that you're in that category. It keeps you very humble. It helps you not judge other people.
And for sure, we can't judge other people. Okay, so let's just talk about thought for a second. I feel like we did touch upon it, but just to explain. Behavior, your action, does not always indicate who you are. For example, if a person is driving and they go above the speed limit and they get pulled over and they get a ticket, does that mean that they're wicked? They made a mistake. They didn't even realize. So it's an action, but you see, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't intentional, right? So sometimes an action, not necessarily does it define who the person really is. Sometimes we speak and we say something that was insensitive. I'm like, oh my gosh, I take that back. That was so insensitive of me. I shouldn't have said that. So I said it, but it doesn't define who I am. I slipped, whatever. It just came out. But the thing is that thought is very, very sensitive. So if a thought just popped in my head, then a thought just popped in my head. And that we can't control. What I could control is to dwell on a thought. So if a person has some kind of fantasy, an inappropriate fantasy, and they think about it and dwell on it time and again, then that could become something serious, because my thoughts are the deepest part of me. And if I allow my thoughts to take me wherever I want, sometimes my thoughts could take me to places that I would not, to places that my action would never take me to.
It's almost like it's harder to do tshuva, or it's harder to repair the damage from thoughts than from actions, I would say.
Definitely in some cases, I'm saying, if a person murders, I mean, that you can never take back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we're just saying, we're just opening all the options. We're opening the can of worms, and we're, looking at it from all the perspectives. So I'm saying, just because you messed up in action doesn't mean that you're an evil person. And if you say, I never did anything, I only thought about it. I never acted on it. So that actually, so I'm saying, in a way, thoughts could be even worse. If a person is yeah, it could be like if a person, like when it comes, it's not just criminal stuff. There's also things like intimacy. If you're thinking things about intimacy that are inappropriate, then that could be very, very damaging. Like we said, if your kid goes outside barefoot and is jumping in the mud, okay, you come in, give him a bath, and finished. But if you're doing brain surgery and a piece of dust goes in the brain, then it's obviously very, very dangerous, because the brain is so sensitive. And sometimes how we think and our opinions, that how we process stuff. Sometimes people are, very negative or very positive, and when they see something, they immediately process it as, oh, you're coming to attack me. So in a way, our thoughts are closest to who we are. So we can't just say, oh, I've just thought about it, I didn't actually do it, so I'm really okay. As we said, even if the Yetzer Hara is just touching thought, you're already, it's a non-factor. It's already in the category of a Russia. Like
people who think things that are wrong don't even realize that they have to do tshuva for it.
Right. If you feel very strong revenge, you want to take, you're not going to actually do anything.
Right.
But your blood is boiling, and you're thinking about, if I could take revenge, and what that would look like. That's very, very damaging. That's very, very damaging. And the more you think about it, the more you reinforce it. If a person has a fear or an anxiety for something, what's happening is that they're every time they think about it and dwell on it and revisit it, they're making that fear stronger and stronger. There's neurological pathways that become stronger and stronger the more we dwell and think about certain thoughts. If you walk into someone's house and you see a big pile of cash on the table and no one's around. Okay, if the thought comes to you, oh, if only I could take a bill or two. Okay, that's human. But if I start thinking about, oh, no one's going to know, and what's if that's not healthy. That's not healthy, even if, of course, I'm not going to touch it. But the more you think about it, it's unhealthy. And sometimes, like, I would never actually eat something not kosher. Could never do that. But with my mind, I could imagine going to a not kosher restaurant. I could imagine other things I would never ever come to do and actually, but my mind could take me to places that my action wouldn't take me to. Okay, so where my head is where I live. Where sometimes you could be in the dentist chair and you're thinking about the wedding, or you could be at the wedding thinking about the dentist. So sometimes where your head is, you could be physically present in shul or at the Tanya class, but your head is at the appointment or at the next thing that you have to do during the day. So there's a lot about where your head is a big factor. And also what you think about during the day is what you dream about at night. You might not even remember when you wake up, what you dreamt about, but it is very important to not forget about the concept of thought. Action is very black and white, but thoughts are a lot more gray. Could I think about it? Could I not think about it? How bad is it? Because it's much less defined. Okay. Okay, so this would be bad enough, right? Okay. The 3 non-factors, but now there's something else. And that is, there's something called a shas hakosher, a perfect opportunity. Now, I think this is more for men than for women, but and it was more defined in the olden days than it is now. But there could be something called a perfect opportunity to learn Torah, which means it's not that I'm exhausted. I have the energy and I have the time. We may think that we have no time, but it's interesting that in the olden days when they had to actually plow the field and do all the physical, do laundry at the lake, right? They had more time than we have time with our dishwashers and our washing machines, because we have so many more distractions. There were no distractions. There was no internet. There was no computer. There was no social media. There was no WhatsApp and email and everything else. Yeah, exactly. There was. So then, if you're a water carrier, there were hours when the people needed the water. Maybe it was the morning, maybe whatever it was. But then there was time during the day that water was already delivered, and there was shas hakosher. There was actually an opportune time to learn Torah. If you were a farmer, right? So there's seasons. There's times when you have to plow, and there's times when you have to, there's different stages of the now you have to harvest. But wasn't that a person that was working 12 hours a day in the field every single day. And then so now it's much more difficult because we're always busy and we're always distracted. But sometimes you don't realize, before I know it, I was on the phone for an hour just wasting time. And that could have been an opportune time to learn Torah. So if a person had an opportunity to learn Torah and they didn't take it, then that also puts you in the category of a rasha, which basically tells you that, just like I've used this example before, either you're married or you're not married. You're not half married. And the same is with Hashem. Either I'm serving him at this present moment, or I'm serving myself. So if I'm serving Hashem, then I'm wonderful. I'm a Beinoni moment, a tzaddik moment, whatever it is. But the Torah and Hashem, they believe in us so much. They believe in us so much that Hashem wants. Hashem loves us so much, and He wants every minute. He wants every minute that we should be devoted to Hashem. And this reminds me of the teaching that we learned this week, which was incredible. Parshas Behar. We learn halachos in Parshas Behar about So there's different things also about kinyan, about transferring ownership. When you're talking about field or orchard, transferring ownership, and at what point does the deal, is it a done deal? At what point? So this week's parsha discusses these kind of halachos. And in this parsha, the Rebbe teaches from these halachos a Hasidic perspective, and you see how the Tzaddik Rasha Beinoni definition, the Tanya's definition of Tzaddik Rasha Beinoni, you see it in halacha. It's incredible. So I'll just try very, very short, just a nakuda. There are three halachos that we're going to talk about briefly. One halacha is that can I sell the fruit of the tree that's going to grow next season? Just the fruit. I own the tree. I'm going to sell to you the fruit of next year's crop, or next year's field. I'm going to sell to you the wheat that's going to grow next season, or I'm going to sell to you the wool that's going to grow on the sheep next shearing time, or I'm going to sell to you the potential offspring of these animals.
Before it actually.
Yeah, it doesn't actually exist. Yeah, pre-ordering, okay? So the fruit doesn't actually exist, the grain doesn't exist, the wheat doesn't exist, the new animal that doesn't exist, the wool doesn't exist. And halacha says that you cannot sell, it's not binding, which means any party could pull out at any time. It's not a done deal, according to halacha, if it didn't come into existence yet. How about if I say,
Buy a house on paper, is it the same halacha?
what does it mean if I buy a house on
The
paper?
house
If the
has-
house doesn't exist yet. Very interesting. So
I'm not legally going to I think that they do that. Yeah. Because like suppose it wasn't built in education.
wow.
But they could make more.
Ah.
That's so true. That is so true.
So now there's another halacha, which is basically a twist. Can I sell the tree? It's basically a lease. I'm selling but it's not really a lease because I'm selling the tree not for the actual tree. I'm selling the tree only for the future fruit. Is such a sale, is such a transaction, is that binding? Which would mean you can't chop down the tree. You can't use the tree for firewood. You can't make paper out of the tree. I'm selling you the tree only for the potential fruit that's going to grow next season. And the answer is, and according to halacha, you are allowed to do that because I'm giving you the source of where the fruit are going to come from. It's a partial sale. Because at least you don't.
It's Lent. It's not. I'm saying you don't own it. You're saying you're selling it, and the tree belongs to the second party.
You could use your car to drive, but if you damage your car, you have to pay, right? So why is it not like a lease?
That's the expert.
No, I'm just saying, it does sound much like a lease, like you
Yeah.
can't
No.
use your car
to axe and
But
bash
at
it
least
out.
the
You do
car
your
is
car
not
to people,
yours,
it's
so
like
the
the
Yes.
car gets back after 3 years.
Right, so the tree also.
The tree goes back?
The tree still
Yeah.
belongs to the owner, it's
The
only the
tree
fruit that's
belongs-
coming off it.
But she said, no, she's selling the tree for the fruit.
But only for the fruit, not for anything else. You can't,
Who owns
you
the
can't
tree?
make firewood out of it, you can't have a pattern.
Who owns the tree?
Excellent.
The seller owns the tree?
Yes.
Then what are you selling?
The ownership owns the parts, owns it, but you have to.
No, he didn't sell the future. No, she said sold the tree for the.
I'm
fruit.
selling the tree for the future fruit.
What is that?
Oh, which means that you're not going to end up going home with the tree. You're going to only end up with the few.
The tree saying yours, I'm the buyer.
You're the, yeah. So
You have a tree. I am buying your tree for the fruit, so now the tree belongs to me.
you, the what you're going to actually go home with is only the fruit. I'm
Whose tree
selling
is
you.
this tree
It's
then?
my tree,
You're not selling me the tree.
but I'm giving it. I'm giving it to you.
Say, I'm using the tree for.
Why not?
So I'm buying the fruit. It's the same thing as the first scenario.
You're
buying
borrowing the
fruit.
tree for the fruit.
No, she didn't say
Then
anything
you're
about
giving it back.
borrowing.
Then you have to give it back.
The tree never belonged to you, you just.
But you just, so why is it different than the first scenario?
So it's a twist on the first scenario because the
Well,
first scenario you don't have anything.
No, I'm not saying a difference. Am I? the only
Okay.
one?
No, it's a twist. It's a twist. So I'm selling you the animal for the offspring.
But you're not really selling animal, you just said.
I'm selling you the potential, but at least you're able to, there's something that in this world that exists
So I'm borrowing
that you could,
them.
that you could hold on
I'm
to.
borrowing them, I get the people comes out animal, I have to give it back to you.
Yeah.
So I'm really not paying for anything different. It just feels different because I'm going home something, but I'm giving that thing
Because
back.
you have the source, that's all you have. is
So I'm
the
giving it
source.
back, so I don't really have anything
You're
different than the
not-
first one. It's an illusion,
Right,
it's
but-
illusion, it's not really
It's
anything.
almost, yes.
It's very, very similar. It's a nuance. It's very, very similar. But in halacha, it really, in Hasidus, it looks, once you learn the Hasidus, you'll understand the halacha. Okay? And then the third scenario is that I say, if this business deal goes through, I'm going to give $500 to tzedakah. The $500 don't exist yet because I didn't make the money yet. So it didn't there is no $500 in my possession at this moment. So am I bound to give that tzedakah, or could I say, look, the $500 didn't exist? Okay, now I take it back.
You said it very clearly on the tonight, it's only if the deal goes through. So
Okay, so the deal went through.
Oh,
The deal went through.
so
Now,
that's-
could I say, look, the money didn't actually exist when I said that I'm going to do it? The answer is that you are chayiv to give the money. Why? Because you said it. Because you gave your word. Those are the three halachas. Halacha
But
number
you
one.
gave all of them. The first one, you also gave your word. You said any fruit that comes from this tree will belong to you.
Right. So the difference is that when in the third case, no, it's amazing. The third case is it's something called it's for tzedakah. It's for the Beis Hamikdash. It's for a holy purpose.
Mhm.
Because it's for something holy. Because it's for something holy. Therefore, I'm obligated. And because it's for Hashem. It's for Hashem, and I said it, so I'm obligated. So again, the first situation is I cannot I cannot make a transaction about something that doesn't actually exist. I can't say I'm selling to you the fruits of the tree. The tree is totally mine. I'm selling the fruits of the tree. You can't do that. What I could do is I could say, I'm selling you the tree for the fruit.
I'm lending you the tree. That's what's tripping me up, because you're saying I'm selling. You're not selling. I'm lending, leasing, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
So let's just say I'm giving it
I'm
to you
giving
partially.
I'm giving you temporarily the tree.
Temporarily or partially. And then the third case is that it doesn't exist, but because it's for a mitzvah, you're obligated. It might be hard for you to understand it, but now we're going to take it according to Chassidus, and then it will clarify. It's amazing. These are
Sounds like a rent. What's the rent? When you rent an apartment.
when I rent an apartment. So again, right. So sometimes with a rental, right? Someone will say, you could rent this house, but there's conditions. You can't bring pets.
Yeah. The construction, the garage, you may only use it to
The
live
only
with.
time
Right.
I wonder, I reached out to them, okay, if I sold it, something else, and I'm like,
Do you rent that street every Sunday?
Yeah. But when I'm renting the house or when I'm renting the tree, when I'm renting the house, so at that time, just because I guess every situation is a little bit different. So I don't know that you could pass from one to the other. Every case is its own case. But if I'm renting the house and I'm living in this house, just you can't just come and say, I'm sleeping here tonight. You know what I'm saying? Because there is some level of true ownership here. So according to Hasidus, what does the Rebbe explain? That each and every one of us is a tree. It's two parts. The tree itself, the bark, the roots, the twigs, the tree itself, that represents my seichel and my midas, my inside. How I think, how I feel, my heart and my mind. The fruit, that represents my thought, speech, and action. What I produce for the...
My mind is
Excellent. So the ability to think, the seichel, the power to think, that is internal. Now, thought, speech, and action is the thoughts that I choose to dwell on.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I tell you, do multiplication in your head.
like the action of thought, not the thought, like the act, meaning like
The action part of thought. Very good way to break it up. So my fruit is my contribution to society. What I give, what I'm giving, that's my thought, speech, and action. And our whole mission on this earth, why we're here, Hashem created us. So we really should belong to Hashem. But yet Hashem gave us the feeling that we're our own identity. Hashem, you created me. Thank you very much. And now I could do whatever I want. But the mission is to say Hashem, to say Hashem, you own me. You own me. You're my owner. To give myself back to Hashem. There's a story of a family living in Russia. And it was a couple, and they had a baby, and they did not register him. They bribed the nurse not to register the boy because they didn't want him to be registered or to have any papers. Because then, when he grows up, he's going to have to go to the public school. He shouldn't exist. And that way they won't have trouble later on. Problem is that the husband was drafted to the army, and the mother, she had a hard time taking care of her child. She didn't have enough money. So she decided she's going to go travel to one of her relatives to get money to provide for her and for her son. She couldn't take her son with her because he didn't have papers to travel. So she asked the neighbor if she could look after her son. And she went. But the trains in those days weren't so reliable. And she planned to come back after just a few days, and she was delayed. In the meantime, the neighbor, she was a wonderful, nice lady, but her husband was a real Russia. And he would chase the boy around the room trying to stuff chazer into his mouth. And she realized this is not a healthy situation. She said, I have no choice. I'm going to put this child into an orphanage because the mother's not coming back. So she takes this Jewish boy and puts him in an orphanage. Maybe it's a week later. And the mother comes back looking for her son. And she says, where's my son? I said, I'm so sorry. I put him in the orphanage. I didn't know you were coming back. Now she's going now to look for her son. In the meantime, the orphanage, all the boys from the orphanage, they went on a trip. They went hiking. And on the way back from this trip, they stop off at a farm. And the farmer is so nice, he gives each person a glass of milk. And they're about to drink the milk. They're so excited. When was the last time? It's Russia, it's war. And when was the last time they had a glass of milk? And the farmer says, there's nothing like a big glass of fresh horse milk for a growing boy. And he hears this and he realizes the milk is not kosher. What's he going to do? He can't be ungrateful. And he acts in a clumsy way and he spills the milk. I was like, oh, we feel so bad for you, but too bad. That's it. There was no seconds. And they're walking back to the orphanage. And the boys were making fun of him, that he's so clumsy that he lost the opportunity to drink the milk. And they're mocking him. And the mother sees The mother sees from a distance the boys making fun of one boy, and she realizes, oh, this must be my son. They're picking on him because he's Jewish. He sees his mother. He comes running to his mother and he says, "Mommy," in Yiddish, "Mommy, I promise I'm still yours. I didn't drink the milk. I'm still yours. I'm still yours." This child, although he was so young, he knew that he had to stay pure. Mama, I don't know the Yiddish. I'm, you know, I'm still yours. And our avodah, our whole life is about saying, Hashem, you created me, you gave me a neshama. I'm not just here to do whatever I want. I belong to you. I want to give you my everything, right? This king was traveling through the forest, and he stops off at a little inn, and the innkeeper is so nice to him and takes such a good care of him and gives him some good food to eat and everything like that. And the king is about to leave. He says, "I want to give you a gift." He gives him a beautiful tea set. Now, this innkeeper, he's not going to use the tea set on a regular basis. It's from the king. On a basis, it's from the king. He puts on a very high shelf. But when the king comes to visit, he takes it out and he serves the king on the very china, on the tea set that the king gave him. And the same is Hashem in Nishmas. Whatever you gave me a mouth, you gave me hands, you gave me feet, whatever you gave me, I want to use it to serve you. I want to give, you own me. I want to give back to you. I belong to you. I'm yours. So our whole life is about, we want to give to Hashem. We want to say, Hashem, you own me. The question is, how much are we able to relinquish control? How much does Hashem own me? So a tzaddik is someone who says, Hashem, I'm a tree, you got the whole thing. The tree is my sechel amides, and the fruit is my machshava dibur ma'isa. Hashem, I'm giving you my all. You have the whole thing. That's a tzaddik. You have my emotions, you have my ability to think, and every thought, speech, and action I give over to you. That's a transaction. A binding transaction, a tzaddik gives the whole tree. A Beinoni, there's two levels of a Beinoni. The lower level of a Beinoni says, Hashem, I'm a Beinoni. I'm struggling. I still want, my temptations. I still appreciate a good car, a nice car, a nice house, everything else. I can't give you my tree, but I can give you my fruit. I could work very, very hard and force myself that anything that comes out of me should be perfect. It's called white knuckling. You're forcing yourself. Every thought, speech, and action should be perfect, but the insides and the outsides don't match. I'm still struggling like a Russia. So it's very, very nice that you have fruit to give to Hashem, but it's not a binding transaction. You're not completely given over to the Eibishter. I can give Hashem my fruit, but there's no guarantee of what my fruit is going to be tomorrow because I'm struggling every single second. I don't know what test challenges Hashem is going to give me tomorrow. So I can't guarantee my future fruit. But then there's a higher level Beinoni. A higher level Beinoni is trying to pick up his seichel amides, his emotions, to match his thought, speech, and action. That if you pull the rubber band so far that your thought, speech, and action is way over here, but your emotion is down here, eventually it's going to plot. Like how long can I have thought, speech, and action that are perfect without having emotion? Because the emotion is the source. Usually my thought, speech, and action is motivated by how I think and how I feel. So there's only so long that I can have perfect thought, speech, and action without my emotion motivating it, coming into play. So the higher level of Beinoni is where he is picking up, and he's starting to, and he's working not just that his outside should be perfect, because we're going to learn in Tanya, the first step of a Beinoni is thought, speech, and action. Just worry about thought, speech, and action. And then after that, we want that the emotions should also match, because that's the only way that that you could guarantee forever that thought, speech, and action will be perfect. And how does the Beinoni do this? By davening. When he davens, he wakes up his love for Hashem, and he's so and the love of Hashem. Even when he's done davening, it still lasts. It still leaves an impression for the rest of his day. And therefore, the higher level tzaddik, I'm selling the tree partially. I'm giving the tree for the fruit, which means I'm giving Hashem. I could get enough emotion, enough seichel midas that my thought, speech, and action should that I could guarantee that I'm not going to actually sin. Hashem, I could actually give you my thought, speech, and action because I have some emotion already. I'm giving you the tree. I'm giving you part of my emotion. What I was able to muster during my davening, my emotion is not perfect. My thought process isn't perfect, but it's enough. It's enough to motivate my thought, speech, and action. That's a bain. That's a higher level bain.
So that's that, not just that.
Because learning Chassidus, that's what changes my thought process, 100%, 100%. So now, once you learn the Chassidus explanation, it makes it easier to understand. Hashem, I'm not a perfect tzaddik. I'm still struggling, but I'm giving you I'm selling you the tree for the fruit. I have enough, seichel midas, I have enough intellect and emotion to ensure that my fruit will be perfect.
When you're talking about a Russia and we're feeling bad about it, somebody once asked the Rebbe, who's on a higher level, the person who's 2 steps below the 50th level or the person who's 2 steps up from the bottom rung? And he said it depends which direction they're going in. And I could tell you that, like when I saw him starting to take steps to, he's growing. He's not going down, he's going up.
Right.
And really that's
100%, 100%. And also, everyone's starting from a different rung on the ladder.
yes. Just mean which direction?
Which direction are you going? 100%, 100%. And now we think the third scenario. The third scenario is that I just make a pledge that I'm going to do a mitzvah. And now that pledge is binding. And once I say, Hashem, I'm going to give you my thought, speech, and action. I'm going to take upon myself a good resolution, a achlata, a mitzvah, tzedakah, whatever it is. The fact that I said it means that I'm obligated. And if I'm obligated, then Hashem is going to help me do it. And the Rebbe tells us what we should do is, instead of saying, oh yeah, I am a Rasha, I'm not a Rashi, which level am I at? No. What we should do is we should pledge another mitzvah to Hashem. I pledge many mitzvahs to Hashem. I said, pledge many fruit to Hashem. And as soon as I say it, I have to do it. Hashem will give me koyach to do it. And
that's also true.
And Hashem gives us kayach. Hashem gives us kayach. And the more we pledge and the more Hashem kayach we get from Hashem, and the more we do, we'll be so busy fulfilling our pledges that we won't have time for any negativity, and we'll be in the category of a Beinani. Because basically a Beinani is, at this given moment, am I married to Hashem or am I not? Am I serving Hashem or am I not? If I'm consciously serving Hashem, I'm in the category of a Beinani. The second is I need a break, I need time off, I have to check my WhatsApp. Then at that moment, you could have been learning Torah, you could have been doing a mitzvah. Where are your thoughts? Are their thoughts good thoughts, not good thoughts? You're already in the danger zone. You're right in the danger zone. So long as I'm pledging to do mitzvahs, and as long as I'm actively serving Hashem, and I'm in touch with Hashem, and Hashem is my. As long as I am conscious that Hashem is my owner, Hashem, I am yours. If I feel this concept of Hashem, I'm yours, then you're for sure in the category of a Beinani. But as soon as Hashem, I'll meet you in shul in 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes for myself, and those 5 minutes, yikes. So it's true that we're human beings, and not every minute are we perfect, but at least to understand this concept of Hashem. Not only did you create me, but I am giving myself over to you as much as I can. My thoughts, my speech, my action, my seichel, my midas, my at least some of the time. What can I give? How much Hashem do you owe me? How much of myself am I giving to you? Okay. Going back to the Tanya. Okay. Let's go to the Russia for a few minutes. The Russia, what's the problem with the Russia? The Russia did something wrong. He did an Aveira. And now his story is that that guilt,
Something that we could.
guilt plays a big role in the life of a Russia. The Russia feels good that he feels bad. And it could look very, very good when a person's saying, Al Khait, I feel so bad that I did this thing. It looks pious, it looks holy. But really, but it depends. It depends if you stay in the guilt. I feel good that I feel bad and that's it. Then that guilt is coming from the Yetzer Hara. And that's the story of a Russia, because the Russia feels, I feel so bad, but there's nothing that I could do about it. And that's basically the life story of the Russia. I feel stuck, I feel trapped, there's nothing that I could do. There's a story of two brothers, and they started off in the same yeshiva. And one brother went yeshiva hopping. Went from one yeshiva to another yeshiva to another yeshiva to another yeshiva. And after a few years, he comes home and he had found himself in a Chabad yeshiva. So his brother says to him, how did you land in a Chabad yeshiva? What happened to you? We started out in the same yeshiva. What happened? So I'll tell you what happened. We started out in the same yeshiva together. And it was coming Yom Kippur. And I had a question. Why do we say Al Chet? Al Chet Shechatanu. Al Chet Shechatanu. What sin did I do? I'm in yeshiva. There's very little food here. There's no ice cream. There's no, sushi. What avera did I do already? The beds are so uncomfortable. It's not even a taiva to sleep in. So what am I saying? Yom Kippur, Al Chet Shechatanu, this whole list of averas, what was it talking about? I'm a yeshiva boy. So he asked in the yeshiva what this question, and they said to him, it's not talking about you. You didn't do these averis. Why do you say Al Chet Shechatanu? You're saying Al Chet for everybody else. He said, this didn't sit well with me, because if I'm saying Al Chet for everyone else, then why am I clapping? I should go clap everyone else. Go around the Yom Kippur. We're the yeshiva students. We're perfect. Al Chet, you Al Chet, not me. I didn't like this answer, so I'm going to a different yeshiva. Goes to the next yeshiva and he says, why do we say Al Chet Shechatanu? It's coming Yom Kippur again. Al Chet Shechatanu. They said, no. You're talking the one that sinned. You sinned. It's not someone else. It's talking about you. But you sinned, but there's nothing that you could do about it. We're human. This is how Hashem made us, that we fall. So he heard that answer, but didn't sit well with him. Because if it's my sin, but it's not my fault, because this is how Hashem created me, then why am I saying Al Chet? It's not my fault. So he didn't like this answer. So he decided to go to a different next yeshiva. In the next yeshiva, they told him, it is your Aveira. It's not someone else. You did the Aveira. And it is your fault. You have to take responsibility. But you also have to be honest with yourself and know that, yes, I have to take responsibility. But I know that next year, I know that I'm going to end up doing the Aveira again. And next year I'm going to come Yom Kippur, and again I'm going to have to speak to Hashem and deal with this list. So he said this didn't sit well with him either. And then he said, and then I came to the Chabad yeshiva, and over there I asked the same question. And what did they say to me? I wrote down when I was in the car the last 3 minutes. I sinned. It's my fault. I can't blame the system. I'm responsible. I could help myself. And I am responsible to ensure that I will never repeat the same Aveira. I'll never repeat this Aveira again. That is what we have to strive for. And that's how we get out of the Beit, that's how we get out of the Russia vicious cycle. So long as I say to myself, I sinned, it is my fault, it's not my fault, but there's not, as soon as I say I sinned and there's nothing that I could do about it, and I'm resigned to the fact that I feel good, that I feel bad, or I feel bad, if I don't feel bad, then I feel bad that I don't feel bad, that guilt, if I could just sit in the guilt, and I feel terrible, think of an addict, this is a story of an addict, I feel terrible that I drank, I feel so bad that I did it, and I apologize, I'm so sorry, but then there's nothing I could do. I didn't do it again.
He needs another drink now because he feels so bad, so he has to take that bad feeling away with another drink. That's an addict.
So that guilt is unhealthy,
It keeps
And-
you stuck.
keeps you stuck. And basically, unrelated to this, I just went to Google and I Googled Rabbi Manis Friedman guilt. I just wanted to, because I was sure that I could for sure find him talking about it. And he defines guilt, and he says that guilt isn't even an emotion. He says, because you have guilty and you have innocent. I don't feel innocent. I am innocent. I am guilty. What he says that guilt is when a person feels damaged. A person feels, because I did this, I am going to be less loved, less respected by the community. That is how he defines guilt. So now again, it's all about me. It's never about the other person. I'm not thinking about what my spouse or my child is going through for the fact that I'm an addict. I'm just thinking, oh, I'm less loved. I'm less respected. I'm less valued by my spouse, by my children, by my community, by Hashem. And there's nothing that I could do about it. And you're so busy feeling guilty about your relationship with whoever it is, and you didn't even stop for 1 second to think about the perspective of the next person, or think about it from Hashem's perspective. From Hashem's perspective, even if you sinned, Hashem loves you. Hashem wants your mitzvah. Hashem will forgive you. So it's a very ego. It's an ego way of guilt is all about my ego. And you feel stuck and you can't get out of it. But if I want to get out of it, if I want to get out of it, the thing is that you have to take the guilt and attach it to a good to a solution. And that's the only way, and that's tshuva. That's real tshuva. Not to say, I'm sorry, charata. You have to have charata, and then you have to leave go of the aveira. And then Hashem will forgive you. And then you'll be a bein, you'll be a tzaddik. You could move out of the Rasha category. You have to attach the guilt to a concrete action. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Go to rehab. What am I going to do about it? So long as I'm still wallowing in the guilt, what's that person going to think about me?
No, it's just how you feel about yourself, which is also selfish. A lot of the guilt is I feel bad about myself. I'm stuck in myself in my head. I don't feel good about myself. I'm upset at myself.
Right. So
Self-beating is also selfish.
So I'm upset at myself. Really? There should not be any space for that. It's like talking to yourself.
No, it's ego driven to be upset at myself.
Yeah.
I'm staying stuck in myself.
Because talking was meant for me to communicate with someone else. Feeling bad, there's no point in self-pity. There's no point in self-pity. There's no gain to self-pity. The point of feeling bad is so that I should find a solution to get out of it. Self-pity, there's nothing good that's going to come out of self-pity. There's no gain to that.
The guilt is 5 seconds. Show you that you
And there's guilt and there's regret. Regret is you have a business, and the business, they made a mistake in business. That's regret. That's not guilt. Regret is fine. Regret is fine. I regret, and I'll never do it again. Tack, I'll never do it again. Mistakes happen. It's okay.
You get something to regret.
But regret is a little bit more objective. It's not all about it's not if you're sitting at a business meeting and the business decides that we invested with the wrong company or we took the wrong whatever, okay, we regret the decision, but we can move on. It's not. No one is sitting in a pool of mud.
The guilt is like self-flagellation. You're beating yourself and beating yourself
And you're so busy looking at yourself, and then let's say there's someone who did this crazy Ponzi scheme and stole tons of money from a lot of people, right? And the person says, I feel so guilty. I feel so guilty. The person says, I feel so guilty. You cannot trust that they won't do it again because it's all about, I feel so guilty. Now, guess what? I feel so guilty, but you know what? Guilt wears off. The first time I feel very guilty. The 10th time I feel less guilty. That's one thing. And the other thing is that if it's all about me, then the same temptation that I fell for the first time, who's to say that if I have an opportunity to steal $50 million again, who says that I won't fall for it a second time? Because I'm only looking at everything. You're only upset that you got caught. I feel very guilty that I got caught. Because you're only looking at it from your perspective, from your own perspective. But if a person who stole $50 million is able to say, you know what? One of the people that I stole from was a Holocaust survivor who came to this country with nothing. And they worked so hard to provide for their family. And then they had a little bit of extra and they wanted to have some savings and they gave it to me. And I stole it from them and now they have nothing. Now, as soon as you look at it from the other person's perspective, then that's regret already. Now, of course, I don't want to hurt that other person. Now you're looking at it from someone else's perspective instead of just looking at it from, oh, I feel good and I feel bad, and now I'm done. I'm done. I could sit there. I'm happy that I feel bad, and now and the problem with that is that when if a person doesn't translate the guilt into regret into action, when they hit rock bottom. You say, oh, when you hit rock bottom, then everything's going to go good. But if a person hits rock bottom and doesn't take action, then what happens is all the pain of all the regret hits them, and they're really in very, very bad shape. Because if you don't use the guilt and attach it to an action to get out of it, and then the guilt is even more pain. It brings you even more pain. So basically you have a choice. If I sit in the guilt, I'm just piling more and more pain upon the pain that I already have. Versus saying, no, I'm stopping to think about myself for 3 seconds. What can I actually do to change the situation? And that is already getting yourself out of the process of tshuva. And if we do tshuva, Hashem will forgive us. So someone who does an aveira and regrets it, and does action to change and does real tshuva, not just Erev Yom Kippur sending a WhatsApp message. If I ever hurt you during the whole year, please forgive me. That's lip service. That's not what we're talking about. Regret and action to change myself. That when you see a person who does that, that looks like a tzaddik to us. But that was that all those steps. That was a Russia getting unstuck from the Russia situation. Okay. Now we're going to go to the most. We're going to go to the end of the spectrum, which is what you call a Russia virale. Russia virale is the worst. You know why? Because they're so bad that Hashem took away their regret already. Like Parai. Hashem hardened his heart They didn't even regret. So long as you have guilt or regret, okay, guilt is not coming from the best from the Yetzer Hara, while guilt is not coming from the Yetzer Hara. Guilt is coming from the Yetzer Hara. But what happens is, how do we get out of guilt? This is a very important point. How do I get rid of the guilt? Well, the opposite of guilty is, what's the opposite of guilt or guilty? Innocent. What a person has to do is say, who am I really? The Yetzer Hara got me to do something bad, and I did it. And now the Yetzer Hara could walk away because it already got me to do it. The Yetzer Hara is so chutzpahdik that he comes and he laughs in your face. I told you to do this. I told you to speak Lashon Hara, and now you're so silly for listening to me. Feel guilty. Feel guilty. And then comes the Yetzer Taiv. The Nafesh Halakis comes and says, "Hey, I didn't want to do that. You hijacked me. What about my innocence? What about the real me? I never wanted to do this." And what we have to do is we have to remove the schmutz, remove the guilt, and say there's something beneath the guilt, and that is who I really, really am. Think of a time, think of a place when you were emotionally and spiritually in a good place, and say, that's who I really am. That's who I really am, and that's who I'm gonna be. And how can I? And guilt is according to Rabbi Shishler, how he defines it. He says guilt is the expression of the disconnect between who I am and what I have done. I did this. That's not really who I am. Go back to who I am. Sometimes Baruch Hashem had an amazing childhood without much difficulty or any difficulty. Smooth sailing. Got into the right camps, got to the right seminary, things, Baruch Hashem, I never saw my parents arguing. I grew up in a real wholesome home, right? And then you get married, and then there's challenges, and then you're living in the real world, and then you lose control, and then you stop and you say, "What? My maiden name is Feldman. Where is Hani Feldman? Where am I? The good, kind kid, where am I? That's who I am." When true, at that time I didn't have this challenge or whatever it is. So, but I know who I could really be. I and get back in touch with that innocence of your childhood. That's who you really are. When you have stress and obligations and commitments and you feel like you can't hold it together, that's not who you really are. Go back to your innocence. That is to the neshama, to who I really am, and believe it. And you say Hashem believes in me, and I think, oh, I'm so guilty. I think that now this person loves me less, and that person respects me less. It's okay if you're worried about that. Ask them, do you love me less? You'll be surprised. They may tell you, no, don't worry, I love you just the same. Don't be busy your whole life worrying about the relationships and the guilt, but rather worry about what action can I do? What action can I do to be in touch with my essence, with the real me? And what happens is the lowest level is a rush of irale. What happens is he becomes kind of his neshama becomes almost out of the picture. He pushes his neshama out to the extent that now it's not even in him anymore. Now it's surrounding him. It's like background noise, like everything that's going on in Israel or any anti-Semitic attack. It's a lot of noise. It impacts us. It impacts our focus. It impacts our stress level. It impacts our feeling of optimism. It does impact us, but more from the outside. It's background noise. That's how the neshama is for this person. The neshama will always be there, but sometimes this Rosh Hashanah, he will lose the awareness of his neshama, although it's always there. And the proof is that it says in Pirkei Avos that if there's 10 Jews gathered, the Shekhinah will rest. Even if there's 10 Jews who are not even aware of their neshama, the Shekhinah still rests because the neshama is always present, no matter what. There's a story that a yeshiva student came to the Alter Rebbe and he said, I did something wrong, and I don't even feel bad that I did it. And I don't even feel bad that I don't feel bad. And I don't feel bad that I don't feel bad that I did that, on and on and on and on until he fainted. Which means that he did feel bad. He was convincing himself that he didn't feel bad. So a Yid could say, I'm not connected to Yiddishkeit. I don't care that I'm not doing anything. But really, deep down, there is that regret. There's in the Mishnah, there was the great sage. His name was Elisha ben Avuya. And then at some point in his life, he turned his back on Yiddishkeit and he was known as Acher. Acher means like someone else, like the other, because he completely, like, no one even recognized him. This big, great sage with a long white beard, and all of a sudden, he just completely turned his back. And what would he do? He would go into the yeshivas. He was a colleague of Rabbi Akiva, and he was the teacher of Reb Meir. And even after he gave everything up, Reb Meir would still follow him around and say, please teach me Torah. He would still teach him Torah, even though he said that he didn't believe in anything anymore. And he would walk into the yeshivas and he would tell the kids, he would tell the students, he would tell the Anhala, he said, why are these kids in yeshiva? Let them go earn a living, learn a trade. And then when they're old, then they could still learn Torah. Now they should go learn a trade. Don't waste your time being in yeshiva. Now, he passed away before the Mishnah was written. And in the Mishnah, they quote him. And to be quoted in the Mishnah, you have to be on such a high level that you could be able to perform Tchias HaMesim. That's how great you have to be in the Mishnah. And they quoted him. And what do they say about him? In his name, they said, Elisha ben Avuya says that a child who learns Torah is compared to fresh ink on clean parchment. Which means that this thing that later on in his life, when he said, "Oh, why should these yeshiva boys wasting their time? They should go be learning a trade." What does it say in the Mishnah? In his name, that a child that learns is like fresh ink on fresh parchment, which means
Mishnah means that's what their essence says. Hoya Omer means that was he used to always say.
Yes, that's his essence. And although he acted acher, but ultimately he regretted. Even he regretted it. And how is he known for the Mishnah? This saying of that Jewish children, the value of kids learning. So really this concept of a Rasha Virala is really something that's basically non-existent. It's really, because, can there actually be a person who truly doesn't regret? That's almost an impossibility. But it's just to give you the spectrum.
Just to give you. As a subject for children.
I think that someone who.
Well, say that again.
As impossible as a tzaddik for children.
Right. As a tzaddik table is the complete opposite. Right.
I think that somebody who doesn't regret really simply
Not
has
in
not
touch.
to live.
No,
Right.
they're not in touch. They
Yeah.
maybe regret deep down, but they're not in touch
They're
with
not-
it.
Yeah, that's mental illness. A normal person has regrets. Every human being has regrets.
Or they're so full of anger they can't express their own.
That's illness.
Yeah.
There's some people who go to their grave like that, and that's illness. It's
Right.
not even their fault.
Right.
Every Jew has good and bad. Every single Jew. I always remember that clip of that I was telling somebody to tell of this huge Russia who lived in Russia, and he was responsible for murdering a lot of people. And he told somebody who came to the Fabring, who came to take down, he said, tell this person that he could still do tshuva.
Wow.
Imagine, you would think that, yes, even somebody who murdered can do a certain level of tshuva.
Not the one that did shoot on the last minute or the next one.
No.
Who was the one that did shoot on the last second?
Elisha did not end up doing tshuva. There was a reason why. Rabbi Jacobson tells the story. He thought that he was not going to be accepted by Hashem, so
Perfectionism.
he just thought that he's beyond hope.
Yeah. You're stuck in the guilt.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. But so long as you have some kind of regret or some kind of guilt, then there's always a way back home if you use it as a tool to get out. But that's the main thing. If you feel bad, don't be satisfied with feeling bad. Don't feel bad, because you have to let go of the Aveira, do teshuvah, Hashem will accept it. And the main thing is, if there's something in your life that you want to correct, instead of just feeling guilty about it, figure out what small action could I do to actually make a change. Yeah. Okay, and on to the Beinoni. Mirz Hashem.
You say make a pledge to do mitzvahs. What do you mean? Like to keep making pledges, meaning like
Make a resolution.
like decide in your head that you're you always know what your next meeting is. Right.
What
It's
did you
not
last night?
I didn't mean you. Years ago.
No, I didn't mean you, I'm just saying, like,
No, make me a decision now. I'm gonna
Make a
make a decision.
Like, don't just like think, oh, I'm gonna change. Actually, like, say things that you're gonna do.
Yeah.
No,
Like, when you
That's
pledge to
why-
get stuff, but you don't actually give it, but you pledge that around, and then they send you an email.
Yeah.
Hashem doesn't send me emails. You have to take
Reminder.
it's important always to take small steps and not to jump too big, because when you jump too big,
You lose it.
you gotta take every step on the ladder. Otherwise, you just pull back and then forget it, So, yeah, small steps are important and they last usually,
We have to keep doing, others they don't want. I feel like when I take a little step and I just stayed it, I end up going back where I am. You have to keep
Because
doing
after you take the
steps.
first step, you have to know what your next step is.
In the beginning, you get Charlie horse, let me tell you.
But even if you make a achlata, and even if you're not able to, even if you don't, let's say you make a achlata, okay, I'm gonna daven every day or whatever it is, and even if you don't actually do it, you shouldn't feel bad, and you should keep trying. Why? Because we're struggling. We're struggling. So, and it's true. I can't sell fruit that don't exist yet. I can't sell fruit that don't exist yet because I don't know what my struggle is going to be tomorrow. So, and it's a real struggle. So when I make that commitment, if I make that commitment and I can't pull through, I didn't pull through not because I'm a Russia, but I didn't pull through because it's a real struggle. It's a real struggle for me to keep the achlata. But on the other hand, if I say that I'm going to do it, then Hashem will help me and I will be able to do it. So if I make a achlata, I'm going to daven every day. And I daven 1 day, 2 days, and then day number 3, I don't. So don't give up and say, okay, that's it. I can't do perfect. I messed up. That's it. The achlata is out the window. Day number 3, I had a challenge. I had a struggle. I wasn't able to do it. But guess what? Because I pledged, because I said that I will, Hashem is giving me extra power to, yes, be able to do it. And don't give up on day number 3. If day number 3 didn't work out, there's day number 4. There's day number 4. It's true, the fruits, generally speaking, the fruit, I can't sell fruit that don't exist. But if it's a mitzvah fruit, once I say it, once I make the pledge, I'm obligated. If I'm obligated, Hashem will give me the strength, because Hashem can't expect me to do something and not give me the koyach to do it. And I will be able to produce the fruit. Don't give up. It's hard to keep achlata. It's hard. But don't give up and say, oh, I messed up. I didn't do it. I can't do it. No, I could do it. I could do it.
What helps? there's certain nachlatas that I took upon myself. And sometimes I would fall back, but what really helped me was when I said, I'm doing this as a schus for my child. Shalai lishma, by lishma, and then eventually I do it for the right reasons.
Amazing.
You know,
Amazing.
in the beginning, sometimes I have to do it shalai, you know, not lishma. I do it for my child as a schus, and then eventually.
I would say even that's lishma. That's also lishma.
Yes, also
Yeah, why is that?
100%. 100%.
Because it's still, I'm still doing it as a
You want to
bargaining
give.
chip for with Hashem, you know? It's still, I'll do this for you, you give me this.
But Hashem, this is your child. You
Yes.
own me and you own my kids.
Yes.
I'm just helping you raise him.
Exactly.
But
that
the
helps me
ownership
very
piece,
much.
the ownership is very important. When we're Hashem, you know, you gave me hands, you gave me feet, you gave me my mouth, they belong to you. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? You own me. And the more we give the more of ourselves that we give back to Hashem, the
I'm
better off we
yours.
are.
I wish that I'm yours.
I'm yours.
I'm still yours, Ibish. I love that.
Honey, can I give you some oranges?
Sure, just a little bit. Thank you. Okay.
Not you, little.
She said, "Oh."
I was ashamed I was giving you a little too, too.